Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Dbacks Dispatch here. Brandon, Gabe, and Brett's here talking another series win. I just feel like a broken record at this point, and I'm completely fine saying another series win because they're 11-0-1 in their last 12. They haven't lost a series in 2 months, which is just blows my mind that this team is just clicking. We're starting to somewhat become fully healthy. Corbin Barrels, smart idea, my man. Anyone that's watching, do what Corbin Barrels just did. Subscribe and hit the bell, because then it will send you a notification of when we're going live. So you'll probably get one saying, 30 minutes to go, and then one as we go live. So make sure to check it out. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Check us out on Twitter. Talking another series win. If you would have asked me my feeling on that Thursday night, I've been like, I don't know. Thursday was a little bit rough. Thursday, I was not in the best of moods. Now, I feel like this team cannot be stopped. They are playing their best baseball at the right time of year, the last 2 months of the season. They're getting on a roll. Their run differential is literally the complete opposite of last year. Last year, it was right at zero. Right now, after this series, they're at plus 68. So this is absolutely phenomenal. So we'll go ahead. We'll get into game one. We end up losing 6-4. So kind of a bummer there. Offense goes 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position, so not that great. Jordan Montgomery started this game. He was okay. 5 2/3, 8 hits, 4 runs, 3 walks, 4 Ks, 92 pitches, so not bad through almost 6 innings. But he just can't seem to put it together consistently. He'll have one start where he looks really good. Another sometimes okay, and then I'll have another one where he looks absolutely atrocious. And I don't know what this is in reference to. But thank you, Daniel Duncan, for the comment. We appreciate it very much. So I have to go back and I just want to jump to the 6th inning, because to me that's the big story from this game, is kind of what happened there in the 6th inning. I felt like Jordan Montgomery was doing pretty well. He was cruising pretty well, but something happened there in the 6th that it felt like he was running out of gas, or Philly was starting to get on him. So 6th inning was ground out, hit by pitch, line out. And at this point, I really felt like they should have taken him out of the game. He was at 80-something pitches, mid-80s, pitching okay. But Torrey leaves him in. Weston Wilson hits a double, then a walk, then a walk. And that really doesn't set up your reliever to come in to be successful when he comes in with bases loaded. And Dylan Floro did. And he gave up a hit there to Trey Turner, and Phillies take the lead. Gabe, did Torrey leave in Monty too long?
I think so. I think he, especially after the hit batter, if you go back onto the actual game, that whole 6th inning, he wasn't sharp as it was. Phillies kind of gave him the outs. It just wasn't one of those things where he was dominating. It just seemed like the Phillies were kind of free swinging a little bit, and he played into that. But after the hit batter and then the double, and they hit it super hard. He was 105 off the bat. At that point, I would have taken him out. I'm like, just let him go out on a high note. They're still, I think, winning. Just kind of give him a pat on the butt and then just let him go. And he had a good outing. But Torrey just kept him in there, and I was confused, especially because I'm like, after the double, I'm like, maybe just because he has 2 outs, I guess, whatever. Then he gives up a walk, and then I was like, okay, like now. Then there was like a single, then I was like, okay, now, and then another walk. I'm like, okay, like all right, like we got to take him out at some point, man. We can't just leave him to die out there, and that's what sucks. Is we've been talking about confidence, like these guys need their confidence, and what confidence is Jordan Montgomery going to have if he exits a game, losing 4-1 or 4-2, whatever it was at that time? He's not going to have any confidence at that point. Like he probably would have had confidence if he would have left the game, 5 2/3, 1 run, 2 runs, and then gets a little nice standing ovation. And instead, he leaves and bases loaded and just kind of fell apart at the end. And so I just think, yeah, he was left in way too long. Again, I would give the benefit of the doubt after the double. Okay, like I can maybe see just Torrey wanted him to get that extra, that extra out to let him go, 6 innings, but he didn't, and he should have been taken out, but he didn't take him out. And we talked about it in the group chat where I felt like this is another punting Torrey games where he kind of just leaves the guy out there to dry when he's struggling just because he needs to play for tomorrow, which is a phrase I've always hated. Like it's not just in baseball, but it's a term we hear even in the NBA too, where like Monty Williams wouldn't call timeouts for challenges when there was clearly like Suns ball or Sunshine possessions. Like you can't take them with you, man. Like I know they're the bullpen was a little bit depleted, but still, sorry, they still needed to use a whole bunch of guys anyway. So it's like, what was the point of taking them out when the game was already blown open? Like you could have brought in Floro way earlier, and maybe you would have had similar results, but they wouldn't have been down 6-1 at that point. Like it would have been at least a little bit closer to where this team. We'll talk about it later, but they're relying a lot on the home run right now. They scored 4 runs. All 4 runs were off of a home run. Like it's just, I felt like he kind of just left him out there to dry, and I don't know why. Maybe it's just because both he and Ryan Nelson are sort of like auditioning for the last job at this point. Maybe that's why he left him out there. But if Jordan Montgomery has a last spot and Ryan Nelson gets sent to the bullpen or something, I'm gonna be pissed because I'm like, come on, man! Like you cost them a game by leaving him out there for too long. Like why would you trust Jordan Montgomery at this point? Like I don't know. He should have been taken out. He wasn't, and yeah, I felt like there was a little bit of punting going on, especially at the end when he left in Saccone for like 3 innings, and I'm like, come on, man.
Yes. I don't know. I think you make a great point with him having to, I guess, somewhat audition for his role still, like kind of, with Ryan Nelson. Obviously, we'll get to him, but it's somewhat of a battle to see who's going to be deserving of that final spot. And even if you look on like even in the box score and all that, it wasn't like a terrible game, but it wasn't like especially that last inning really like let things snowball. He still got 12 whiffs, so he'll doing a good job of at least missing barrels. Didn't really throw too many pitches down the middle of the zone. I think it was definitely Torrey just left him out there too long. Like I get it. Sometimes you got to try to, especially after the doubleheader that they just experienced, you got to try to hope that he can give you a little bit of length. Let the bullpen guys that you have back there rest a little bit longer, so then you can be more prepared for this 4-game series because you don't want to just gas everybody. But I think at the same time, like Gabe said, punting, and we even talked about it in the group chat. Like he said, we don't mean it in he's trying to punt the game away, like he's giving up. Like I don't think they're ever giving up, but it's more of a, like Gabe said, a decision of you got to worry about tomorrow, which is valid. You do have to worry about tomorrow, but there's times where, hey, it's not like this was the 9th inning. And the game's over, and or about to be over, and it's 5 runs just got put up on you, and you're like, okay, well, game's about to be over, whatever, just try to get the last out, and then we'll just go with our last swings. But no, the game was in the middle of the innings. The offense still was able to fight back even a little bit. They made it close in the end, but I definitely think it was Torrey should have pulled him a little bit sooner. And again, I get, the bullpen and all that, but to me, that's just a bad managerial decision to not just, like you said, you want to give him, like, end him on a high note. He hasn't had too many of those starts where he's been able to end on a high note, especially against a really good team like the Phillies. Like, they have a really good lineup. if it sucks that he lost Schwarber after getting him to 0-2 on that count. But again, Kyle Schwarber is leading the league in walks. He has a great eye at the plate. Not as good as a guy like Juan Soto, but he still knows what he's doing up there. So it's unfortunate he walked in, but I'd rather at least like, okay, cool. If he did walk in, get him out of there. Let's go. But the fact that he was still left in there, it is a little bit unfortunate. It's still on him. He still didn't execute with the pitches exactly in the way that he would have. Like, he's still the one throwing the ball, so it's not like he's blameless. But I do think that it is a little bit more on Torrey for, having a slow trigger with him.
I think the reason he left him in so long as well is Kyle Schwarber is a lefty. Jordan Montgomery is a lefty. So he thought maybe he could get him out because percentages say a lefty pitcher usually has the advantage on a lefty hitter. Most of the time that is correct. But when you have a pitcher that's running out of gas versus a hitter like Kyle Schwarber, who if you leave him any meatball, he will destroy it. Like he has hit some mammoth home runs in his career based on meatballs. And again, everyone, Torrey is not a perfect manager. We all know that. Every manager makes bad decisions. It's just what happens. So you just, move on from it. You go to the next game. It's a nice thing about baseball. We did take 3 or 4. So Daniel Duncan, good transition there. Moving on to game 2. Ryan Nelson has the best start of his career. I will not sugarcoat it. Ryan Nelson in this game was absolutely dominant. 7 1/3, 3 hits, 1 earned, 1 walk, 9 Ks on 97 pitches. But he gets the no decision, which is a real bummer. Like, I really wanted him to get this win. Oh, he also had 20 first pitch strikes. That's insane. Like, I had to double check. I'm like, 20. That doesn't sound right. It was. Like, I checked it 2 or 3 times. Ryan Nelson was absolutely dominant in this game. Like, we all know he's very reliant on his fastball. It's because it's really good. It is really good. So when you need to get out of a pinch, why not? 61% four-seam fastball. His fastball touched 98.8, so almost 99 miles an hour, and he had 14 whiffs. I'm going to add – so this is a 2-part question, and I want both answers. Gabe, what should the team do now that Merrill's back, and what will they do?
Yeah, that's a good question. What they should do is keep Brian in the rotation, at least for now, and move Montgomery to the bullpen just to let him figure stuff out. Like we've seen before, he can get through the first couple of innings really well. Like right now, we don't have, the long reliever. Like we lost him when Jarvis went down, Humberto got DFA'd. Like there is a bit of a gap in the bullpen right now, and I feel like Jordan would probably be perfect, at least for now. We've seen him come in relief into playoffs, and he does very well. But we also seen Ryan do that. And this is something that we talked about earlier in the season when he was struggling, which was maybe move him to the bullpen just because he does have such a good fastball that it can help a guy in the bullpen. As far as what they will do, I mean, I prefer a 6-man rotation. I think as of right now, just because everybody's coming back from injuries, Gallen, is cramping up because it's too humid at Chase Field or something. Montgomery complaining about it too. Like maybe we should move to a 6-man rotation just to give the guys just an extra day, especially because we are going to be playing a lot of games in a short period of time. There's going to be a point where I think we're going to play 17 games in 18 days. Like it's going to be a very, very tight schedule coming up. So giving guys a little bit of extra rest, especially coming to the playoffs, because that's kind of one of the things that happened last year, which they ran out of gas when they came into the World Series. Like they were exhausted, and since they had no depth at that time, then they kind of just had to go out there and keep chugging along. This year we have the depth in the rotation, and with the the starting lineup. Maybe we've seen some injuries, but we just have enough depth that most of these guys can have some time off, and one of them is the rotation. We go to 6-man, then everybody gets an extra day to rest, to figure it out. I know most of the time it doesn't work, but I trust this group enough to make it work. And with the offense the way it's rolling right now, it would be good for them to be able to go, 5, 6 innings, give the bullpen a little bit of rest as well. Especially again, like I was saying, coming closer to the playoffs, you want to have a good, healthy rotation and a good, healthy bullpen because they're the ones who win the games for you. So I would prefer that. But as far as what they're going to do, I honestly see them just leaving Montgomery in and sending Ryan to the bullpen because Torrey did say they're not sending him back down, and they shouldn't. Like it's downright, the war crime
Disrespectful.
to send him.
Like
That's a war crime. Like
yeah, it's so like yeah. I'm
They need to
glad he
send-
came out and said that, saying they're not sending him down because I'm like that would be stupid. Like that, like
yeah,
Tori, you guys have made some bad decisions in the past. That might take the cake.
yeah, they would need to try them in the UN or something. Like that would be a legit war crime if they send Ryan back down. But I think they probably just will end up putting him in the bullpen as some sort of long relief role. I don't think they should, but I mean, I guess it kind of fits just because he relies on the 2 pitches mostly and that ridiculous fastball that he has. Put him in the bullpen, he's probably reaching 100, and having another guy in the bullpen who can reach 100 would be a really really good help. But that's kind of the way I see it. I think they should go for a 6-man, but probably Ryan ends up in the bullpen.
Yeah, I'll give you one reason: money. That's the only reason they'll probably do it. Yes.
Why did you build a second Krusty Krabs? Money.
Sorry, I do. But
Every time.
Brett, same question for you. What should the team do with? I mean, it's really between Ryan Nelson and Jordan Montgomery, and what will the team do?
Yeah, I'm on the same boat as Gabe. I want them, and I think that they should go to a 6-man rotation. I think there's nothing but benefits, especially with, I know Zach just had cramps and there's nothing to worry about, but hey, if there's nothing to worry about, then an extra just little day of rest wouldn't hurt anybody. Let Merrill ease his way back into it. Ryan deserves to still start. Like, you can't take him out, but I think the money with Montgomery also, like, you could put him in the bullpen. Obviously, I think that's a smart move. Like, I think that could work, but that's also, I don't think that's going to happen with a veteran lefty that you're paying that much money to. I just don't think he might be willing to. I just don't think they'd make the call. So I personally think a 6-man rotation, like, let him try to figure it out. Because again, he had a decent start against the Phillies in game 1 of this on Thursday. It's just that one inning kind of like Brandon Pfaadt has him sometimes, even Zach Gallen, he'll have a really solid outing, especially like where you're like, damn, like this is, I take this, but then they just have a blow up inning, like at the midway point, and you're like, God damn it, now it doesn't look as good. But I think that they'll definitely go to probably putting Ryan into the bullpen, which is very unfortunate because I don't know how you can let a guy who over his last like 20 games or over last like I think 8 games, maybe almost 10 now, he's like a 2-something ERA. He's genuinely been probably top 5 pitchers in baseball the last like month and a half. I know WAR is weird for pitchers, but this year already, even on Baseball Reference, he has a 0.7 WAR, and that's with his pretty big struggles coming out of the gate. So I imagine you take that out, he would probably be on track for like a 1.5. And even if not, he's still probably on track to possibly even break a 1. And I think with a guy like that and the success we're seeing from him, you got to play the hot hand. I know Torrey loves to sometimes sit a hitter when he's doing really well. I don't want to see it with a guy on the rotation. I don't want to see like, oh, Jake McCarthy, you just got 2 home runs in a game. Right in the pond the next day, buddy. You gotta, extra time to look at the iPad to see what you did so well. I don't want to see that with Ryan, but I think it's just going to be who has the money more tied into them. I think, again, I would hope they would make the decision more based on winning and not based on like, seniority and money, because that, to me, that's not how you win baseball games. But it's going to be a tough call. They could genuinely stick to the 6-man rotation and shock all of us and make us happy. I just don't think it's going to happen.
So the thing is, Torrey has basically come out and said that they're not doing a 6-man rotation. So, like the both of you, I'm full on for that, because if their goal is to get back to the World Series, A lot of these guys are going to be throwing a lot more innings than a normal season. Maybe try the 6-man for like the rest of August. Like, just allow them to save those innings, because Gallen threw close to 250 innings last year. And I think that was a big cause of why he struggled so early.
So really quick, Daniel's bringing up on the Twitter side, he's saying he changed his mind, said they are. That's actually something I did notice. I don't know if Mark Grace was just mistaken, because on the post-game broadcast, right when the game was over, he was mentioning, and I did hear him bring up a 6-man rotation. And again, I don't know if that was him confirming something here from Tori, or if it was something that he, like, kind of like us, is like a speculation what he would want them to do. I'm not sure. So I'm not sure if that's what it was from. So if you do have the, like, either tweet or what it was from, Daniel, let us know. Because again, I did hear it from Gracie. I just don't know if it was like a confirmed thing or not.
Yeah. Also, we've seen this team be willing to cut ties with guys that they owe money to, like we saw with Bumgarner. So I wouldn't put it past them to let go of Montgomery. I just think the difference between Montgomery and Bumgarner is, from all indications, it seems like Montgomery wants to do whatever it takes to win. He doesn't mind going to the bullpen. Like, he is a team player. He wants this team to win. He wants to succeed. And from what we heard from Bumgarner, especially when he was let go, is that he was refusing to change at all. Like, Strami would try to work with him. He would, not like anything he would tell him. Even Dan Herron, apparently, he would give him the list of, plan of attack. That's what Dan Herron does. He's their pitching coordinator. And Bumgarner would just throw the sheet out. He wouldn't want to work with him. So Montgomery is clearly a different person, a different player. So I wouldn't think they would let him go just because he is willing to work on it. So I wouldn't be surprised if Montgomery ends up in the bullpen. And I also wouldn't be surprised if they actually let him go, because, again, this team doesn't seem to be scared of, dropping bad contracts anymore.
The only reason they signed him is because they didn't have faith in Ryan Nelson at the beginning of the season. I really, truly think that was the only reason had they known that they would have gotten this Ryan Nelson, I don't know if they would have signed him. And then this decision was easy. So if Jordan is willing to come out of the pen, because he is a lefty, so he could get those big-time lefties out, so then we'd have 3 lefties out of the pen. He can also be a long man and, like, get us those sometimes 5-6 outs that we need. So before we move on to game 3, I want to just give a huge shout out to Adrien Del Castillo. Oh my Lord, is this kid on fire. First ever D-back to have his first career home run be a walk-off. So congratulations to ADC. Has set a D-back record, by the way, with 7 hits in his first 3 games. So congratulations there.
Nice crisp 16-15 OPS through his first 12 at-bats.
Yeah, and what's so great about this is Geraldo Perdomo told him, look for a fastball. This guy loves to throw fastballs. He looks for fastball first pitch, and he just destroyed it there to right field. So it was really great to see ADC do that. My only thing, so when Gabby is healthy, I could see them sending him back down because he's not going to get consistent at bats, and that's what he needs.
I mean, if he can at least pop in there against, like, a righty here and there and do this. I mean, he's not getting so far, like, full consistent. I mean, he's at least splitting time with Herrera. He's getting less at bats than he would be in Reno, obviously. But I mean, the minor league season's almost over too. Like, it ends sooner than the Major League one does. I believe it ends like at least a few weeks earlier.
It does. Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised at all if, again, I love Jose Herrera, but from what we're seeing from ADC, I don't see how you can say no to that. Like, I'm sorry.
Like, I get Herrera is a great catcher. Like, he really is. Like, Herrera's a good defensive catcher. It's just offensively, he's kind of come back down to earth as what we all expected him to be. It was pretty much 3 guaranteed outs a game. ADC right now is just, he's like, it seems like he is Like you can't get him out right now. So,
I mean,
I could see it.
Yeah, Corbin Barrow, sorry. He's bringing it up as like, is it too early to say ADC over Herrera? I think it is just because we've seen the league adjust to guys that we bring up from Reno. We saw it with Blaze. We've seen it with even Pavin. Like certain guys come up, Seth Beer as well. Guys who are hitting 500 in their first 2 weeks, and you're like, oh my god, we have Barry Bonds, and then they have a steep drop off, and they go 0 for 24 or something. So as of right now, maybe it is ADC. I would be curious to see where he is when Scabby comes up because they said weeks. So you're talking
Yeah.
about probably even September, early September, late September, maybe the start of the playoffs. We might not have Gabby, but if we are able to have Gabby, mid September or so, who knows where ADC is going to be? I mean, he hits a lot of doubles, but he had a relatively high strikeout rate in the minors. Like he could be a guy who's not necessarily ready to come back up, but he's up because of an injury. But we've said it before with guys, we're talking about Davison, over Suarez, which is this is what we need right now. We need a guy to fill in for the next 2 or 3 weeks. If he is absolutely on a tear and hot right now, that's fine. Same with Bell. If this guy is going to hit 500 for the next 3 weeks and then completely fall off a cliff, that's fine. We just need him to be here as long as reinforcements come. And right now, if he's hitting like this, just leave him in, right the hot hand, have him, playing every other day. But again, yeah, I would worry about his playing time, especially because we have Jock in a DH spot. Maybe for next year, he could take over that DH spot when he's not catching.
Yeah, with young players like that, you do need to get the consistent at bats. So I really do hope that he continues to go on this tear. And I believe since he's been called up, they've been switching every game. Herrera, ADC. Herrera, ADC. So I'm wondering if they're just trying to like slow build him into just being able to catch. I mean, Ryan Nelson's best start of his career was with ADC behind the plate. So, and apparently Ryan would shake him off. And he's like, all right, I know what he wants. He loves his fastball. Like Ryan loves to throw his fastball. So he's like, okay, you shook me off. You want the fastball. So congratulations to ADC on that just beautiful walk-off home run. Before we get into game 3, just a couple of things before. Josh, Brett, and Gabe got to meet Dalton from John Boy Media. I was not able to make it. So why don't you guys just kind of explain how that went and just how that whole interaction went?
You can go, Gabe, if you want.
Yeah, I mean, I truly wasn't expecting to talk to him too much. I thought it was just going to be like a little bit of a handshake type of thing. We give him a shirt and stuff, but he stayed and talked to us for like 20 minutes, I think, right, Brett? We're talking for a while.
Yeah,
we're talking
easily for
the
20
Dbacks
minutes.
and everything. Yeah, so it was really nice to meet him. He's a great guy. I like him a lot. So it was really nice to meet him. And at some point, a fan came out to us, a guy named Mark. So Mark, if you're watching or listening, shout out to you. He said hi to us, and he said that he recognizes us from the podcast. So first time we've been recognized in public, so that was fun. So if anybody's ever at the stadium and sees one of us,
There
Mark,
he is.
there you are.
There
Mark,
he is.
It's the homie Mark right there. Yeah, so it was nice to meet you, Mark. And if anybody else, sees us at some point during the season when we're there, I mean, most of us are always there at some point. So if you see us, come say hi. We'd love to go.
Yeah.
Go talk to you guys and hang out for a bit.
Yeah.
Yes, it was definitely. I mean, I've been watching Dalton on like all the John Boy, warehouse games, and stuff for years. Every time they're playing blitzball, he's going up there singing his own walk-up songs. Just very good entertainment, very good guy, very knowledgeable about not just the Dbacks but about baseball in general, and just a very just very cool person. So it was really nice to meet him. And like Gabe said, I was not expecting to have a full-on conversation with him for like 20 minutes. Didn't mean it, or like not meaning that as like we figured he would just be like oh hey, hi, bye, but it just figured it would be like, hey man, you're here on like probably doing work stuff, enjoying your your weekend out of town, in the Chase Field, soak it up. But yeah, no, it's cool. We took the time out of the day, and then like shout out Mark, say we appreciate you. my mom even thought it was really funny when you were like, "Oh yeah, I recognize you for the long hair." She's like, "Is that all people recognize you for?" I'm like,
Yes.
"Why do you think I keep it?" There's there's probably a lot of white Diamondback fans in Arizona that look like me without the long hair. So it's a very easy way to make myself recognizable. So we appreciate it, Mark, and also major shout outs to Dalton as well. And I believe we will have, or at least we're going to try to work on getting more of the Walker Stadium shirts available. I know I think it's available on Snake Pit, but we're going to try to get at least a few other ones from a local person that Gabe knows, and try to work with her, support some locals and all that. But so if you guys are interested, keep an eye out and keep an ear out and all that. If you do, again, even just try to keep more of a tab on people, shoot us a DM, let us know.
Yeah, because we all love the design. Josh kicked it out of the park with that design. That was really, really good. So yeah, we appreciate all the love. It's kind of why we do this for you guys. We like being able to build a community with everyone. And Oscar, don't worry, you will keep your brother's ego in check. We all know Oscar will just hit it down, just to let him know. So
also real quick, Ethan Draper just right now commented everything is AOA okay. Yesterday, that's the song that they played when right after that Dbacks rock or whatever it's called. They just started playing the AOK, and I'm like, oh snap,
dude. That's I'm not gonna lie, that song's an actual banger. During the playoffs last year, I hated that we faced Bryson Stott and all that in the Phillies, but I did add that to my Spotify playlist, and I'd be sitting at work and like living in a big world. So it is nice to be able to hear them use it in kind of a troll post. It was fun.
Yeah. So yeah, that Walker Stadium shirt is just genius by Josh. Josh just kicked it out of the park on that one for sure. So let's move on to Game 3. So Gabe made a post. Was that during Game 2, right? About the basically saying the team is relying a little bit too much on homers. We're not saying it's a bad thing, but don't rely on that to be a big portion of your runs. And then ADC wins the game on a homer, and everyone was trying to be like, gotcha, yeah, you were wrong. No, it's just proving the point even more. So I just thought that was funny. But Jake McCarthy, this series, he had 3 home runs before this series started. He had 3 in this series alone. He had 2 in Game 3 against Aaron Nola. And both of them were not cheapies. Both of them were deep. Just well into the stands there in right field. Jake is on fire right now. His last 30 games, he has an OPS of 978. He's hitting 347. Now, the power's not there. He's not hitting a lot of homers. He's just being consistent. He's getting on base, using what probably his best skill is, and that's his speed. And the fact is, his ability to hit lefties just boggles my mind. What he's been able to do. In 83 at-bats, he's hitting 361. A 900 OPS. This is... And, it's not like he's not hitting righties. He's hitting righties just as well. It's just he's destroying lefties. You just don't see a lot of left-handed hitters doing this against left-handed pitchers. And I think Jake realized, if I want to get on the field, I need to be able to hit lefties. Because you got Corbin, Alec, and myself. We're all left-handed, so they're probably going to sit, most of us, against left-handed pitchers. And Jake has just I can't find the word. I'm always just oh, there's another left-handed hit for Jake McCarthy. He is, in my opinion, right now, he's playing the best out of our 3 young left-handed outfielders. He really is. And Tori, I know you don't like to play guys consistently when they're playing well. He needs to play. Jake needs to be playing every day unless he plays for like 2 weeks straight. Give him an off day, or if he starts to cool off, but I don't see that happening. Now, Gabe, between the trio of Carroll, McCarthy, and Thomas, we can all agree that Carroll, when he's playing his best, is the best of the three. His game all around is the best. Thomas, there's no debate, is the best defensively. And we've talked about there's been a couple of games where if Alec was out there, the game outcome could have been different. But right now, Jake he's on fire offensively. I don't see him changing unless for some reason Torrey sits him consistently, which Torrey, who knows? How would you handle this current situation with these three lefties? Would you continue to play Jake until he cools off, or do you put Alec out there because defense is so important?
I think probably just keep playing Jake just because he has been so hot. I mean, we've discussed it before. He's been sent down to Reno just as many times as they sent Alec down. Like, he'll have his struggles at some point, and maybe this is the year that he's figured it out. Like, I really don't know. But he's been looking too good to keep out of the lineup. So I think they should still keep riding with him, even if there's a lefty. Like, Krichik has been good, but I think he definitely should be one of the first guys, in the lineup every day. I love Alec, and I do think he's going to turn around. Like we mentioned before, his exit velocity is showing that he's barreling up the ball. The issue is just that he's hitting it on the ground or straight to defenders. Like, at some point, that's gonna change. He's still just barely like at 100, maybe 100 at bats or so. Like, he truly is just coming back from injury. He's been out most of the season. We can't expect him to come back, completely healed and ready to go. He's going to have issues. He's going to be adjusting. So we have time to figure this out. I don't think they're going to really do anything as of right now. But what I've said before is if you're playing in a stadium like Cleveland, like San Francisco, you have to take the hit with Alex offense, and just you need him there for the defense because he is going to save you a lot of runs, and that might be the difference between winning and losing. If you're up by one and there's a hard hit to the triples alley, I trust Alec to get that last out if needed. Jake, as good as he is, he's not Alec, and same with Corbin. He's not Alec. They just don't read the ball as well. We've seen a couple times, there'll be a straight fly out to Jake, and he'll run back, then forward, then run back again. He just doesn't see the ball, off the bat as well as Alec does. So I think you kind of just got to do whatever they've been doing now. Except the only difference is I think I would just play Alec in the more challenging stadiums and just take the hit offensively. But, I mean, we have enough boppers as it is right now anyways.
And also, Carroll, his power, like the last 30 days. Like he said, 8 or 9 in the last 30 days? He had like 2 or 3 at the beginning of July. So the fact that Corbin is coming back, the only thing I can think of is that with lefties, if Corbin continues to hit well, is you lefty DH, you put Gurriel, and then you have Corbin and Jake play, or some sort. Like, I truly feel that Jake should be starting every game, and then they kind of alternate with Corbin and Alec. Like, if they're playing, like Gabe said, a stadium with a very spacious outfield, you need to put Alec out there. Or maybe there's guys that tend to hit stuff more into the gaps, have Alec, because Alec always takes the right route to the ball. Carroll sometimes doesn't, and we know Jake doesn't always make the best plays defensively. But their speed is able to make up for it. Yeah, we will get into that later at the end of the show. But yeah, that's going to be huge. But right here, Colorado, I think Alec needs to play all 3 games. Alec has to. That outfield is so spacious. Like, they play so deep because the gaps are massive. Tampa and Miami
against the Rockies for the series, by the way.
Oh, never mind.
It's a home
Sorry.
series. I thought we were in Colorado too, but I just checked the schedule. We're home.
I mean, still, Chase Field outfield is really spacious, so Alec Like for me, his defense is just so important. So I don't envy Torrey. This is a impossible decision. Like how it's going to have to be matchups. Like, all right, who's pitching and how are each guy's numbers against these guys? So, yeah, this is really tough. Brett, floor is yours as to how would you handle this situation with Carroll, McCarthy, and Thomas?
I mean, I might be a little bit like I still agree with you guys. Alex's defense is still really crucial to this team. Like he provides so much just from how he can play a lot of these outfields, and it's going to be a tough call. But I know there's times where Jake doesn't make the same play, but with him at least as of late, and it seems like overall this year, it's been at least serviceable. Obviously, I don't think anybody's going to be Alec Thomas wise. Like not many people are defensively. Especially not Brandon Marsh on that play, LMAO.
It's way off. Way off. It was like 15 feet the other way.
He was jumping at the A in Avnet and it landed almost by the T. Like what are you doing here, buddy? But I think if Jake's still raking the way he's doing, like I love Alec, like Ethan said, he will always have a spot in our
right here. Corbin Barrows is right. This is a good problem to have.
Yeah. Like that's why like it's a decision that sucks because it's not like it was some of the ones in the past where it's like Mad Bum and Ahmed last year where you're like, hey man, these decisions are clear and easy ones to be made. You just got to make them. You just got to peel the Band-Aid off and do it. Whereas the ones that we're having to do with like now and then down the road with like even Josh Bell and all that, they're good problems to have. But I think if Jake's going to be hitting at the level that he's hitting at, and again I love Alec, I think he is really solid out there and what he provides. But if Jake can do what he's doing, I think you have to start him. Like maybe you don't have like I know it's weird to say like Grichuk, but like even Gurriel, his defense is still good. I know again it's not Alec. Nobody's going to beat Alec. Alec is probably the best defensive outfielder on this team, or just best defender on this team. But it's I don't know. Like I don't want us to let Jake's bat go cold and let it like kind of settle down. I know we got to give Alec his opportunities to turn it around. And like we even talked about it on the last show, he is a very unlucky. His Baseball Savant page really shows that like he's getting good barrels, he's getting good swings. It's just not, turning out how he wants it and even how we want it. But and we'll even get into it with how important the series of upcoming at the end of the month against the Dodgers is going to be, and then the final one against the Padres, and just this next month and a half, 2 months alone. Yes, Alec could definitely be saving us runs defensively, but there are times I feel where he could also be hurting us offensively, where even like I know we haven't fully got onto it, but for Game 4, I think it was 5-2 or 7-2 at some point, whatever it was. They put up some more runs, and Alec came up with runners on second, third, and struck out. Had a decent at bat, but went down looking. And obviously, I know Jake's not going to get a hit every time, and nobody's going to get a hit every time. But it just seems like we're seeing more of that from Alec than we're seeing from what we're getting from Jake McCarthy. To where, and again, I said it multiple times. I'm going to keep harping on it. I do agree his defense is a major factor as to why this is even a conversation. But if things are trending the way they're trending, I feel like Jake has definitely earned and won a spot where Alec needs to do what Jake is doing and prove that he can do that. Prove that he is still deserving of a spot, because we know he is. We gotta see it. Like we talked about it earlier in the show. We talked about this team isn't messing. Doesn't seem like they're messing around anymore. They're willing to make decisions that might suck, especially if they love the player and what they mean in the clubhouse. But there's times where it's like, hey man, we're trying to win some baseball games, and I think that might be something that they kind of have the same approach with when deciding who gets more of the starts. I think Alec will still get some starts here this week. We face two righties in Quantrill, and I don't remember the other guy for the Rockies. Looking it up right now, Quantrill and Gordon. So I think he will get some starts, especially both those guys don't have like the best numbers. But I don't know. I think this is going to be a big series, and these next few series against these subpar teams, if Alec can't get it turning around and Jake stays what he's doing, I think Alec has to be a bench just a bench player at this point. It sucks to say, but
I think he needs to be late in the game, defensive.
you're muted, sir.
I am.
No, I think you are, Brett.
Okay. No, but what I was saying, Alec needs to be a late game defensive replacement. I think that's where he's going to get a lot of his opportunities until Jake cools down. I think that's just the way that it is right now. And it's a bummer for him. Like, it really is. But it's just the way that it is. Like, the way Jake is hitting right now. So, definitely. Yeah. There we go. Brett, can you hear me?
Yeah, I couldn't hear you guys for a second, and I couldn't even hear you, so I had to close out. We're good.
Okay. Yeah. No, but yeah, like I think for right now, Alec is gonna have to be a late game defensive replacement. Just the way Corbin's hitting right now and the way Jake is hitting, like they need to be able to keep pace right now with the Dodgers and Padres. Like that's what they really need to do. So moving on to today's game, Sunday's game, the return of Merrill the mainstay. We got our 12th comeback win of the season. We've won 8 series in a row. Longest streak in the majors, by the way. They also tied, and they should have had it, but they gave a line drive to Bryson Stott as an error. They tied a franchise record with 53 hits in a series, which can only be done in a 4-game series. I can't imagine that record being set in a 3-game
Unless
series.
you're in Colorado. That's the only other place I can, and maybe Great American Ballpark. I know that series or that place can really provide some offense.
Corbin gets back-to-back home runs for the first time since last season. He hasn't done it at all in 2024. ADC continues to stay hot, like we said. 7 hits in his first 3 games, Diamondback record. Since June 1st, which we lost May 31st to the Mets 10-9. We were 7 games under 500. We were 25-32. And I think a lot of people was like, oh, it's going to be that World Series losing team hangover. Here it comes. Not so fast, my friend. Since then, we're 41-21. We've won 21 of our last 27, and we're now 13 games under 500. And we are right on the heels of the Los Angeles Dodgers for first place in the National League West. Like this team right now is clicking. And Mike Hazen made some really great moves at the trade deadline. Josh Bell has been a godsend. Like, Josh Bell he's had 2 multi-homer games since he's been here. It's been what, like a week and a half? He's had multiple multi-hit games. Like, he's clicking. Like, this team right now, like, I get excited to watch them play right now. So it's really great. Merrill the mainstay returned today. That first inning was not like, I was like, oh, yeah, this is kind of what I expected, not pitching for 4 months. But he does what he does. He settled in. He retired 10 straight at one point. So just dominant. 5 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned 2 walks, 2 Ks. 85 pitches, 52 strikes. Phenomenal outing from Merrill Kelly. And there's a reason we call him the mainstay. He pitches 5 innings. I think he's tied or he's in second place behind Mitch Keller. He's had like 20 straight starts of pitching at least 5 innings. Like, that is huge, especially with how much the bullpen has been going lately. Gabe, Keller looked like he hadn't missed 4 months. Like, he literally looked like he'd been pitching all season. How would you rate this return?
I guess probably like a solid A-, just because those 5 innings, he kind of labored through that first inning. He threw 25 pitches, I believe, in that first inning, but he was able to settle down and get to 5 innings, and might have preferred a little extra, a couple more pitches, but they clearly had him on an innings limit or a pitching limit. He threw 85 pitches. He kind of just took him out. But he looked really good after that. He settled in. The only issue, I guess, is maybe he wasn't striking out too many guys. It could be an issue going forward. Just depends on how things work out. Again, he did have all of his best pitches. He did miss down a lot, especially with the changeup. It wasn't as crisp as it usually is, but he has like 8 pitches anyway. So I think he, maybe the next couple of starts, he's going to start to settle in and look like a potential Cy Young candidate, which is he's been the last couple of years. So, we got maybe our third ace back already, and hopefully, with Gallen, having his little issues and stuff like that, being able to have Merrill, be able to be a stable presence in this rotation, along with Ryan, along with Brandon. So I'm starting to feel a lot more confident in this rotation, feel a lot better, feel like as long as they get 5 runs, this team's going to win a lot of ball games.
Yeah, I think Merrill might be one of my favorite Diamondbacks because I know he's starting. All right, he's going to keep us in the ball game, and then that's what you want. You want to be able to be in the game for as long as you can, and Merrill gives that team this chance. So, Brett, how would you rate the mainstays return? You're muted.
There we go. Thank you very much. I think it was really solid. I know the first inning, it didn't start off, like you said, it was one of those where, dang it, man, coming off the IL, I figured I didn't think it'd be crazy, but I didn't think he would instantly, kind of do what he was doing. I was expecting to see some of the mainstay, and to his credit, he settled in. The Phillies are still a pretty decent offense. Kyle Schwarber at the top of your lineup. I know he's not the traditional leadoff guy, but that is just such an insane presence to start. So again, I think he was solid. I think I would give it at least a C plus, if not a B. I think just because it was a really solid team that he was facing would maybe make me go to a B, especially first game back in months. Still kept him to 2 runs across 5 innings. I'll take that every day of the week. 2 walks. That's not the Merrill that we usually know, the 2Ks. So it was, some areas for improvement. So that's kind of why I'm leaning C plus. A little more strikeouts like normal, but didn't seem like he gave up too much hard hit contact after the first inning there. He had the impressive streak of retiring some guys. So that's kind of some of the old Merrill that we got to have been getting used to seeing. So I think it was really solid. I know again, it wasn't like Gabe said, it wasn't as long. They probably could have gotten a few more pitches out of him if they wanted to, but I like ending him. I think they learned from Monty. They're like, yeah, let's just have him end on a good note and not try to push him for another inning. So I think it was really solid, and it's so nice to have him back. I know that every pitcher is going to have their rough days, but he's genuinely one of the guys over the last few years where when he's on the mound, I just feel comfortable. It's not like he's gonna like today, he might give up a few runs, but you can just expect him to go out there, be a workhorse. He's going to give you innings. He's going to give you efficiency. He's still going to be nasty. He's still going to be, like Gabe said, when he's on, he's genuinely in he could be in contention for Cy Young. If he didn't miss his time to start this year, he probably could have, maybe not Cy Young worthy, but he already had a 0.8 WAR before he went on the IL in just the 4 games he started. He was better than Zach. He was better than Brandon at the time. He was our best starting pitcher, and that's why losing him when we did was so unfortunate, because he was starting the season off to be really good. So if we can just get a month and a half of this kind of Merrill, obviously another inning or so, more strikeouts, ideal. But if the mainstay is back to stay, oh man, watch out National League, and not even just the National League, watch out National League West. Other than the Padres, because apparently they're almost unbeatable now. The fuck?
Yeah, for me, Kelly, I give it a solid B. That first inning, I'm like, ugh. But then I'm like, the fact is, he set down 10 in a row. That's the thing with Merrill is once he gets in a groove, good luck. And the thing with him, you don't know what he's throwing. He has the ability to throw 6 pitches. And I think that's what makes him so dominant. It's not like with Ryan where you can it's probably fastball or cutter. You can hone in on that. Merrill, you can't. Gallen is the same too. Like they have so many pitches that they can throw. Like it's really hard to really hone in on one pitch. So that was great. I was so happy to see him back. Just want him to continue to do well. I think we all need. I think Merrill, Corbin Merrill's his changeup. It does feed families. It absolutely does. Um, so our final topic here is something that I don't think a lot of the general fans want to admit that might be an issue. Again, we aren't saying it's a bad thing, but don't rely so much on the home runs. This team is not a home run hitting team. We're really not. And if you focus on that being a majority of your runs, we will see a stretch where we'll have just strikeouts, because they're all trying to hit home runs. Like it's fine if the pitch is there, hit it. But from July 5th to August 11th, we're 23-9. We scored 200 runs. 88 came via a solo, 2-run, 3-run, or a grand slam. It's a 44% rate. Like almost half of your runs via the home run. It's not sustainable, is what we're saying. Not that it's bad that they're hitting the home runs. It's something that is very unlikely to be sustained. And if you rely on it, it's not going to pan out. I just don't think it can be a long-term success for this team. So, Gabe, do you think we are relying too much on the home run? Or are you content because we keep scoring so much and we're winning? And when we all know chicks dig the long ball.
Yeah, when I made that post at that point, it was they had something like 22 hits or 22 men on base. 4 of them had scored just because of the home run, like 4 or 5 runs at that point. I know people are making the point now that we scored, a whole bunch of runs today. Most of them weren't on the home run, which is great. That's what I've been saying. That's what I want. I want them to be able to score without relying on the home run, which is something that they did today. They were able to adjust to Sanchez, and they weren't able to do that on Thursday, because the way to attack home run hitters is fastball up and then off speed down. So that's why we saw so many ground balls and double plays. Like, look back at the box score. They grounded double plays over and over again. They struck out over and over again because that's the way to attack them. They were getting underneath the ball. They're hitting it over just because they're, relying too much on the home run. That's what I feel like is an issue. I mean, they're like I said, they're winning right now. A lot of these things average out, and right now they're winning. They're hitting a bunch of home runs, which is great. But that's not who this team is for the most part. We have 4 guys that I want, to swing as hard as they can. Most of them, like, let's just say Perdomo. Would it be great if Perdomo can hit home runs, but we know that's not his bread and butter. His bread and butter is getting on base, with a walk or a single. Like, that's what we want him to do. We want him to get on base, steal, same with Corbin. And they hadn't really been stealing because they've been relying so much on the home run. That's why there are so many double plays as well. But the thing is, we've seen this team rely on the home run and not working. That was almost the whole first half of the season. We talked about it. You can go back to the other episodes. When they were on those losing streaks, we mentioned is because the only runs they're scoring is via the home run. They're either, blowing teams out, or the next 2 games, they're hit 2 solo home runs, and that's the only 2 runs that they score. So we've seen, the worst part of this team, when it comes to the home run, and we've seen the best part. At some point, it's going to average out to the same, and, they're going to struggle again, if they're not adjusting. But today, it gave me a little bit more confidence that they are able to adjust. That's what I'm hoping for. If it's, you're in the 6th, 7th inning, and whatever pitchers they have out there have their number, and they're just locating their spots, and you're grounding to double plays a whole bunch, switch up the approach that you have. Start focusing more on getting singles, choke up on the bat a little bit, and you should be able to score runs again like that. But again, for me, it's just don't rely on the home run, Bob, because we've seen teams do that. We've seen the Phillies do it, and that's why we beat them in the playoffs, and that's why they lost the World Series. And same with the Dodgers. We beat them because they can't score outside of the home run. And right now, one of their big issues and why they had gone on these streaks of losing is because if Shohei isn't hitting a home run, they're not scoring. So, we can't become that sort of team because that's not who we are. And I know a lot of people have mentioned, that that identity of these feisty, annoying D-backs, it's gone. It's like, yeah, I would agree to a certain extent it's gone, but we have to be able to channel it again. We have to be able to score runs in a way that's not just a home run because even in that 4 home run game, the back-to-back-to-back one, I believe they won 4-2. So the only offense was just in that inning and just in those home runs. And or they
That
scored
was the
5.
9-8. That was the 9-8 game, I believe, where the Pirates came
That
back
one?
because we
No,
scored
no,
5
no,
in the
against the
first.
Dodgers. The
Oh,
Dodgers,
sorry.
the playoffs. It was, I think the score was like 4-2 or something like that. They didn't score after that. And that happened quite a few times in the playoffs where most of the runs that they would score were just home runs and then they were just completely shut down after that. And I think that can be a huge issue, especially going to the playoffs, because again, we're facing the best pitchers on the planet at that point in the playoffs. And if they're able to hit those fastballs up in the zone and those off speed down in the zone, is this team going to adjust? So far, it seems like they are adjusting. But again, I love the home run, love all the offense right now. But my point is, don't be complacent. Don't fully rely on getting a home run every single time. Don't, you have to manufacture runs one way or another. And sometimes you got to take what they give you. And if they're walking you, if they're hitting those spots in the bottom of the zone, just tap it, go the opposite way. Because we've seen guys struggle because of that. Like Gabby before, when the season started, he was literally going for the home run swing every single time. Go
Yeah.
back and watch those clips. They said it on the broadcast. There's a big hack at it. And then once he started going to that Gabby lane again, he started to come around. He was batting 350 before he went down with injury. So again, we want these guys to be able to go, you know, through the gaps, hit doubles, hit singles, and then let the big boppers hit the home runs. But if everybody's going for a home run, you're gonna see a lot of double plays and a lot of strikeouts.
This is gonna be a fun one. I get to be kind of a rare opposite. I mean, I do agree. Just relying on home runs can be a bad thing at times, especially if your offense, like we talked about that. But one of the things, at least even when I was like looking up some of the doing the numbers, and I went through and I told you guys in the group chat, got all the numbers from each game in that stretch and how many of them were via the home run. There were at least some more often than not that, even kind of like in today's game 4 finale where, yeah, they put up a good amount of runs, whether it's 12 or 5, but only 1 or 2 runs would come off the home run. So it's not like it's every single game, which is nice. I mean, it is still a very valid point. Even in this series could have potentially been a sweep if game 1 they clutched up a little bit more in runners in scoring position. But is that sometimes whether it's baseball, you get unlucky, the pitcher makes a good pitch. Are they just trying to go for home runs, or is it just sometimes they just run into them more often than not? And I was curious. I went back, and I know you're talking about how even in the playoffs last year that's the reason why the Phillies lost, because they didn't hit the home runs. I'll argue that's the reason why we lost the World Series, is because we couldn't hit home runs. I know it's the main thing. Obviously, the biggest reason is probably because we didn't have another starting pitcher. But the Rangers out-homered us 8-3. And it didn't seem like they were too crazy when it came, obviously that game, what is it, game 3 or game 4, where they put up 11 runs and 6 or 7 in the first 2. Yeah, game 4. That one is a little bit different because they were kind of running all over the places. But even in that one, I think they had 3 home runs. Yeah. Seager, Semien, and Jonah Heim all had a home run. So I think it can be a good and a bad thing. I think if you're only getting your offense from if the number of runs they were scoring from home runs was in the 54 to 65% and even higher, I would genuinely okay, this is a big issue. But even when I punched in the numbers from these last 2 games with the 12 runs today and then the 11 runs yesterday, it still stayed at the 44% rate. It's still, again, even their average with runners in scoring position went up 20 points from 271 to 291. it is something to, I think, definitely keep an eye on. And that's even kind of one of the points we were, responding to people on Twitter and social media that were like, trying to dunk on us. So like, hey, we're not saying this is a bad thing. It's just something that, and if it came off that way, I don't think that's what Gabe or even Brandon and I were meaning it to come off as. It's just something to note, like, hey, some of the few games that they do lose, or even one of the ones where they win, but it came a little bit closer. Like Gabe said, even in the back-to-back and some of the other ones, they'll hit their home runs, but then the offense just kind of doesn't do much else. And they have their opportunities. They'll get runners in scoring position, and they just don't come through because whether that they are trying to hit a home run, I can't say again, hitting a baseball is tough. I don't think every player's Jock Peterson, like I believe Daniel brought up in the Twitter chat, like he definitely is one of the guys that goes up there probably trying to, when he's swinging, he's trying to do as much damage as possible and genuinely like trying to, if not hit a home run, he's trying to swing through and destroy the ball. A lot of times that ends up in a home run. It doesn't mean that he's going up there free swinging. He works a great at bat. I think if as long as they balance it is the big key to, hey, this definitely something. I don't want to see them do their 1 for 9 or their 4 for 16 with runners in scoring position and they barely win 5-3 or 7-3 like they did against the Guardians in the doubleheader. I would like to see them, obviously, like Gabe was talking about, that create chaos, the hitting, balls into the gap, even like we saw today with Jake McCarthy. The only runs we got from the home run was Corbin Carroll's, and that was the very end. Every other run was, produced the good old fashioned, 2023 Dbacks way. That's where I think it's definitely, I like when they do that. I just think there are some games where, hey, you know what, if it comes down to the home run ball being what they need to win, as long as they're getting it done and they're winning, I'm okay with it. But again, just not the only way throughout the season. And again, once the playoffs come around, like you didn't bring that up, it's a good point. The playoffs are a different beast. Everything's a little bit different. But I think this team could be a little bit different than what the Phillies were last year. Even the Phillies, they were built to be a home run, team. They weren't like an athletic team that was just like really good and just solid baseball players. Like last year, our big boppers were, like Corbin when he was doing good, and then obviously Emmanuel Rivera. I think them bringing in guys like Jock Peterson, Grichuk, Gino. Now that Gino's swinging a hot bat, even like the acquisition for Bell, they're genuinely providing guys that like actually do hit power. And I think it's a little bit weird because I'm not used to that. I'm not used to the Diamondbacks being a home run hitting team. And I love it, but I do agree. If it happens to where over 50% of our runs are maybe even closer to 60, because half your runs are home runs, it's not a bad thing if you're one of the best teams in baseball. But I think it's definitely something to at least keep an eye on and try to keep in the back of your mind when they win or lose a game. Be like, oh, what was the big factor? Was it the home run ball? Did they lose because of that, or did they win because of that?
Yeah. Again, we're not saying it's a bad thing. Just don't rely on it as a big portion of you being able to score runs. So, no, because Josh isn't here. So there'll be.
I'll do a trivia question.
Okay.
For anybody in the comment. Nobody looked it up. I don't maybe you guys would know. Who was the first player to get a Gold Glove for the D-backs?
Ooh. Oh man. Yeah, I'm not gonna look this up.
I have a guess, so I'm gonna say Steve Finley.
I'm gonna say that's actually a really good guess. I think it is Steve Finley.
Yep, Steve Finley, 1999.
Nice.
Yeah. I was like, okay, so we're thinking late 90s. Who was some of the players they had early? I was like, yeah, Steve Finley. Made sense. So it was great. So we're just gonna do one other quick thing here, real quick. I'm sure a lot of you have been checking it out. We are in the running right now for the NL division title. We are only 3.5 games back, and we have a huge 4-game series with the Dodgers at the end of the month, right there around Labor Day. That's going to be huge. So if this team can continue to do what they're doing, like I say, every time we do a series preview, series win. That's all I want. Series win. They've done it for 2 months in a row. So just keep doing that. And I really feel because we have Colorado, Tampa, Miami, Boston. And then we play the Mets right before the Dodgers. The only one that has me as maybe not a series win, the Mets. Only because the Mets have been playing pretty good the last 2 months as well. So, yeah. I really want that division title. Because I feel if we win the division title, the way the Phillies have been slumping lately, we might end up with the best record in the National League.
But that's a bad thing because then that means we get the bye, and if you get the bye, then that means that you're at a disadvantage, and that's you're being cheated out of having a good season. Sorry, I had to throw that in there.
No, yeah,
cry more, nerds. Cry more, nerds.
But no, and then right now we are right there for the wild card too. Right there. The only reason we are listed above the Padres is we currently are leading the season. No, sorry. We have a better interdivisional record than the Padres. It's the only reason that we appear higher than they are. Braves better watch out. Braves better get their shit together or they're going to miss the playoffs completely. Giants have been playing really well lately, which is kind of weird because they traded Jorge Soler, who had 4 home runs this weekend. It's Denver, so take that with a grain of salt. But still, 4 home runs over a weekend is pretty crazy. So, Gabe, just real quick. I mean, you really brought it up a month and a half ago when we had that series against the A's. We were 7.5 back at that point. You were 10.5.
Yeah, 10.5.
Okay, sorry. But Gabe was one of the first ones that said it is possible. Now I know everyone's jumping on it now because it's easier. 3.5 makes it a lot easier to think than 10.5. But Gabe had the faith first, so we'll have to definitely find that. We most likely have to play that clip once we take first place. That is going to be something we're going to put out saying back on this date. Gabe from Dbacks.
Please knock on wood and don't undo Gabe's thank you. I was like, we don't need to have this clip going.
Hey, it is a big risk that you take.
I love it. That's what we
do. Gabe, what do you think this team needs to do to overtake the Dodgers?
I mean, the main thing is just keep winning because the issue is, as of right now, for the next 2 weeks or so, the Dodgers, they're starting to face tougher competition. The Padres, I mean, they're playing the Rockies and the Marlins 47 times in the next 2 weeks. So, we can't really rely on getting too much ground on the Padres. But at least for the Dodgers are still not healthy. I know that's the big excuse that everybody on MLB Network and their fans are making. It's oh, we're injured. I'm as if we're not injured. As of right now, I think we've had 11 pitchers make 2 or more starts during the season. That might even be higher now that we've gotten Erod and Kelly back. So I think it's just being healthy, being able to score. The Dodgers, again, they're struggling a little bit. I think the most telling series right now is going to be the upcoming one because they're playing against the Brewers, who are also on a hot streak, who are playing very well. They have really good pitching, so I'm going to be curious and be watching those games, seeing what they do because the Pirates, I mean, they had the games won a couple times and then they just fell apart. Same with the Marlins. It seems, they would get 10-0 and then they'd find some way to screw everything up. So it was just crazy this whole weekend, just seeing them completely fall apart. And the Dbacks just, beating and at times, completely undressing the Philadelphia Phillies. So, it's not like the Phillies are, the Phillies aren't a bad stretch right now. They are, I think, a couple games under 500 since May. So they're not looking too good. I think we just got hot at the right time as of right now. This team can still stay hot, and hopefully they're able to sweep Colorado and then, battle it out in Tampa. I think at the end of this week, we could be talking about them being tied for first place. And this is something that I mentioned that A series, which was way before the All-Star break, because I was looking ahead and I'm like, we're facing hard competition, but we're facing everybody who we're going to see in the playoffs potentially. So we're able to make some ground and against them. And as of right now, I don't see why not. Why couldn't they make ground? Like by the end of the week, it could be, Padres 1, D-backs, and then Dodgers, in third place in the division. So I don't know, man. They got to watch out. I know Sportsnet LA and that weird Dodger Nation account. They're tweeting out videos saying like, "Oh, everybody can keep down." And I was like, "Oh yeah, the $1 billion underdog Dodgers." Yeah, all right. They are getting a
Just
little
like
bit
when
healthy.
Chiefs fans are the underdogs.
Yeah, Chiefs fans, Dodger fans, Phillies fans. They're spending $500 million on their teams, and they're the underdog somehow. So, I think we can overtake him. And I said it at the beginning of the season. I think it's going to come down to the last couple of weeks. Although I said they're going to both win around 100 games. So that prediction, I guess, still stands true. I think it's going to be.
It's possible. Yes, like it's not out of reach.
I can see this being like one of those seasons where D-backs 96 wins, Dodgers 95, and Padres 94. Like, and that's interchangeable one way or another.
Yep. Yeah, like I just make it in. That's all I'll say. Just make it into the dance because we saw what happened last year.
I think if we can somehow, and I believe if we can come back, continue the stretch, the Dodgers can continue their fall. We can take first in the division, and if the Padres are right on our tail behind us and it knocks the Dodgers into third, who knows, man? Like, I think the person that would be the most happy if everything works out that way and the Dodgers somehow miss out is my brother, because he literally told me in like December or January, he's like, after like the Ohtani signing and the Yamamoto, and I'm just like freaking out, like, oh, here we go. How much help do they need? He literally, I remember he looked at me in his car while I was driving. He's like, saying it now, they're gonna miss the playoffs. Don't care. So I wish I got it on video, but at least I have the memory of it. But yeah, say if that happens, he will never shut up about it.
Good, because it'd be absolutely hilarious. So
he's not even a D-backs fan, which is the funniest part.
He's just probably anti-LA. So want to say thank you to everyone that was watching us here live. Martin, Corbin Barrels, Oscar, Ethan,
Mark as well.
Duncan. Mark was in there. Like, we appreciate Bryce. We appreciate all the support. We do this for you guys, just trying to give you some good quality D-backs content. Yeah. Congratulations to everyone that got these rings. I heard they went like super fast.
This will be a giveaway item, by the way.
Yes,
we're gonna do a giveaway. So
yeah. So if you didn't get one, make sure to stay tuned to our Twitter at Dbacks Dispatch. Subscribe here to the channel. Hit that bell so then you get notified of whenever we go live. Check us out on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Occasionally, we do have posts in Reddit. So maybe that's where you found us. So we appreciate it. As always, we'll see y'all next time.